The crowd at the Tonight event was electric. Cameras flashed, the stage glowed, and pop culture royalty filled the room. Then came the moment they all waited for. Billie Eilish, in her signature oversized black suit and lime-dyed hair, walked out. She gave the crowd that lazy, ironic smirk, the one that made her iconic. "So who's up next?" she asked, lounging into her seat. "Oh, right, the political girl who talks like she's still in 1952. Laughter erupted. Billie twirled her microphone between her fingers like it was a toy. "What's her name again? Karen? No, wait, Karoline." Even the host laughed nervously. Backstage, Karoline Leavitt heard it all. Dressed in a sharp navy blue blazer, silver cross glinting on her neck, she exhaled slowly. She wasn't surprised. She was prepared. Her aide whispered, "You don't have to respond. Just do your segment. Get out." Karoline smiled faintly. "Oh, I'll do the segment," she said, "but I won't leave without flipping the script." Back on stage, Billie leaned toward the audience. "Look, I know people love a good faith and flag act, but come on. It's giving theater. Like old-school Republican theater." She chuckled at her own joke, fully expecting applause. And she got it, until the next guest was introduced. "Ladies and gentlemen, the youngest White House press secretary in history, Karoline Leavitt." The applause thinned. A few boos, some confused claps. But Karoline walked out like she owned the moment. She looked at Billie. Billie looked back, arms folded, chin raised, unimpressed. Then Karoline did something unexpected. She smiled. "Hey, Billie," she said into the mic. "Thanks for the warm welcome. You gave me a great intro. Almost made me feel like the opening act." The audience chuckled, but not at Karoline. It was a shift. Slight, subtle, but real. Karoline sat down, crossed her legs, and leaned into the mic. "You call me vintage, outdated, even dangerous. But the truth is, you're scared of what I represent, because deep down, you know there are millions like me who aren't afraid to speak, without singing." The crowd leaned forward. Even Billie blinked. Karoline wasn't here to survive. She was here to flip the room. Billie Eilish leaned into her seat, eyebrows raised, clearly unimpressed. "Oh, honey," she said with a grin, "if I wanted a political TED Talk, I'd scroll through X. We get it. You pray, you salute the flag, you quote Reagan in your sleep." Laughter rippled through the audience again. Billie gave a mock salute and added, "God bless your perfectly pressed talking points." Karoline didn't even blink. She turned slightly, facing Billie head-on, not with rage, with amusement. "I actually don't quote Reagan in my sleep," Karoline said calmly. "But thanks for the idea. Might try it. Could help people remember what leadership once looked like." The audience chuckled. Not at Billie this time. Karoline pressed on, voice steady. "You talk about faith and the flag like they're punchlines, but to millions of Americans, they're the reason their fathers never came home." That line pierced. Billie tried to roll her eyes again, but this time it felt forced. Karoline turned back to the host. "The real problem here isn't that Billie disagrees with me. It's that she thinks disagreement gives her a free pass to mock what she doesn't understand." She looked at Billie again, her expression sharp but composed. "You sing about heartbreak, isolation, feeling misunderstood. Well, guess what? That's how people like me feel when elites laugh at our values. So maybe we're not that different, except I don't need to auto-tune my beliefs to make them palatable." Boom. The crowd went quiet for a beat. Then someone clapped, then another. Even the host leaned forward. Billie tilted her head, forced a half-smile, and said, "Okay, you've got lines. You rehearsed." Karoline smiled back. "No, Billie, I just learned to think before I sing." Gasps, muted laughter, then applause. Karoline crossed her legs, hands folded. Calm. Billie, for the first time, didn't respond. She didn't drop the mic, because Karoline had already picked it up and owned it. By the time the segment ended, the tension in the studio could be sliced with a guitar pick. The host wrapped things up with forced laughs. Billie adjusted her sleeve, muttering something off mic. Karoline simply stood, nodded to the crowd, and walked off stage like she hadn't just turned the air electric. But backstage, the real fireworks were just beginning. Within 30 minutes, clips from the exchange hit X, formerly Twitter. The hashtags exploded. Billie mocked Faith, just Karoline clapback. Auto-tune, your beliefs. One tweet with over 150,000 likes read, Karoline Leavitt just gave Billie Eilish a masterclass in composure and conviction. That was not the mic drop Billie expected. Another user wrote, I came to watch Billie roast a Republican. Now I'm re-watching Karoline's speech with goosebumps. What just happened? Billie's fans rushed to defend her. She's an artist, not a politician. Let her speak her mind, too. Karoline's just stiff and preachy. But the damage was already done. Karoline hadn't yelled. She hadn't ranted. She had outthought, outframed, and outlasted one of the most recognizable icons of her generation. At 11:42 p.m., Billie finally posted on Instagram stories, some people try so hard to sound deep, they forget how shallow their arguments really are. No name, no tag. But everyone knew who she meant. 15 minutes later, Karoline posted a single sentence to X. Better to be deep and misunderstood than shallow and celebrated. No hashtags, no photos, just words. It got 1.2 million likes overnight. By sunrise, Fox News was calling her America's new Gen Z conservative force. CNN, to their surprise, aired the full clip, no edits. Even Rolling Stone had to admit, love her or hate her, Karoline Leavitt just changed the tone of pop culture debates. Back at her office, Karoline scrolled through the reactions with a blank face. She wasn't chasing trends. She was chasing truth. And for the first time, the world wasn't laughing. They were listening. The next morning, Billie Eilish's team held an emergency call. It's spinning out of control, her manager said. She looks like a bully, and Karoline's looking like Joan of Arc with a press pass. Billie shrugged. I didn't say anything that bad. She just twisted it. Her publicist wasn't buying it. You rolled your eyes at religion, Billie, and then mocked the flag. Middle America is lighting up. You gave them a target, and she aimed back like a sniper. Meanwhile, in D.C., Karoline sat with her comms director, sipping black coffee. No celebration. No smugness. Just planning. They're expecting you to back off, the aide said. This could cool down if you let it. Karoline looked up. And let them turn the next kid wearing a cross into a punchline? Not a chance. That afternoon, she tweeted a single clip. A quiet, composed 37 seconds. I didn't go there to win. I went to say what millions feel too afraid to say. That faith and patriotism aren't outdated. They're just unfashionable in rooms that worship applause more than honesty. No background music. No dramatic edits. Just Karoline, looking directly into the camera. It went nuclear. People from all walks of life began stitching the clip on TikTok, adding their own testimonies. A firefighter from Kentucky, in full uniform, she spoke for us. A Muslim student in Michigan. I don't agree with her politics, but I respect that she stood her ground without mocking anyone else. A grandmother from Georgia. Finally, someone who doesn't flinch when they're mocked on national TV. Even late-night hosts started walking on eggshells around the topic. But Billie was quiet. Then, 2 days later, her team reached out to Karoline. Billie wants to clear the air. Would she be open to a one-on-one? No cameras, just a conversation. Karoline's response was immediate. No need for private clarity after public mockery. Then she paused. Unless it's live. The team declined. Karoline didn't mind. She wasn't trying to win a PR game. She was showing the country, especially her generation, that you don't have to be loud to be powerful. You just have to be clear and unafraid. The email came from UCLA's student union. We'd like to invite Karoline Leavitt for a town hall on faith, fame, and free speech. The Billie Eilish episode has opened conversations we'd like to continue, civilly. Her team was skeptical. That's Billie's home turf. You'll be walking into a trap. They're not looking for dialogue, they're looking for blood. Karoline didn't hesitate. Then let them see what it looks like when someone walks into their fire. and doesn't burn. The event was packed. Neon hair, dark eyeliner, Billie merchandise, signs that read, "Music greater than morality," and "Faith isn't a mic drop." Karoline took the stage wearing her now iconic navy blazer, hair tied back, silver cross shining under the stage lights. She didn't clear her throat. She didn't smile nervously. She looked at them and said, "I know many of you think I'm the enemy, but enemies scream. I'm here to speak." Silence. Tension. Then a girl in the second row shouted, "Billie didn't scream. She just called you outdated." Karoline smiled faintly. "Right, and I called her talented, because both can be true, until one of us mocks the other's roots and expects no response." A few students shifted in their seats. Another raised his hand. "You think faith should be above criticism?" Karoline answered without blinking. "Not above, but not below mockery disguised as wit." Then she stepped closer to the edge of the stage. "The truth is, what happened between Billie and me isn't about pop stars or politics. It's about what we permit in public conversations. Mockery as entertainment. Dismissiveness as depth. Sarcasm as substance." You could hear a pin drop. "I came because I wanted to look the next generation in the eye and say, you can disagree without demeaning. You can rebel with class. And if you think faith is funny, fine. Just know some people wear theirs not for the spotlight, but to survive the silence that comes after it." There was no applause at first, just stunned stillness. Then one girl clapped, then a few more. Within seconds, the room was filled with cautious but genuine applause. Not because everyone agreed, but because they couldn't deny what they'd just seen. Karoline didn't attack. She invited reflection, and that scared them more than any viral quote ever could. Karoline's appearance at UCLA was everywhere. Clips circulated on social media, stitched side by side with Billie's original eye roll. Comparisons were flooding in. "This is what class looks like." Billie started a joke, but Karoline gave a lesson. Mic drop by staying calm. Genius. And just when the buzz started to settle, Billie spoke. She posted a short video on Instagram. No makeup, no studio lighting, just a raw frame and a low voice. "I'm not sorry for being sarcastic. That's just me. But I will say this. I didn't expect Karoline to come out swinging like that. She handled it better than I did. Props." The internet froze. No one saw that coming. Was that humility? An olive branch? Damage control? Karoline's phone lit up like a Christmas tree. "You have to respond." She's trying to own the narrative again. Say something sharp, or she wins the last word. But Karoline didn't type a thing. She stared at the screen, replayed the video, paused at the line. She handled it better than I did. That night, she opened her laptop and drafted 2 possible tweets. Tweet A: "Billie, sarcasm is cheap. Reflection isn't. Thanks for finally joining the conversation." Tweet B: "No need for applause." We were both heard. She stared at them, then deleted both. Instead, she posted a photo. Her standing at UCLA, head slightly bowed, cross shining. Caption: "Sometimes silence honors truth more than echoing noise." It was retweeted 3 million times in 24 hours. Commentators called it the classiest checkmate of the decade. A political podcast titled their episode, "Billie Spoke." Karoline didn't, and still won. Even Billie's fans had to admit, the war of words had turned into something else entirely. A war of tone. And Karoline had mastered it. She didn't shout, she didn't gloat, she didn't spin, she just stood. And people listened harder than ever. 2 weeks after the viral silence, Karoline's office received a message with a bold subject line. A voice, a symbol, a turning point. Let's document it. The sender? Reed Matheson, award-winning documentary filmmaker, known for politically neutral but emotionally explosive pieces like The Divide, Undecided Nation, and Icons of Influence. In the email, Reed wrote, "This isn't about left or right. It's about what happens when pop culture meets unshakable conviction. I don't want to make a film about Karoline. I want to make a film with her. And yes, Billie has been contacted too. Karoline stared at the email, brows furrowed. He wants to tell a story about what? She asked her team. That Billie mocked me and I didn't flinch? Her comms director replied, no. He wants to tell the story of how you changed the rules of the fight. The producer offered full editorial transparency, final cut review, and a 3-part streaming deal with a major platform. We're calling it Echo Chamber, the day the music mocked the message. Karoline raised an eyebrow. Dramatic title. That's what sells, her aide shrugged. Later that night, Karoline sat alone, reviewing footage of the talk show. The eye roll, the mocking jokes, her own calm retort. Then the campus event, the one sentence that changed everything. You can rebel with class. She whispered it again to herself. What would joining this documentary mean? More visibility? Or more fire? Would people accuse her of cashing in? Would they say she's chasing celebrity just like Billie? But then again, if they were already talking, why not own the narrative? She drafted a reply. I'm in. But it's not about me. It's about showing that conviction can live quietly and still conquer noise. The reply came 5 minutes later. That's exactly what we're filming for. Karoline was reviewing early interview questions from the documentary team when her phone buzzed. It was a short text from Reed, the filmmaker. Billie's in. Just 2 words. Karoline stared at the screen. No shock. No panic. Just calculation. In the same film, she asked her aide. On camera? The reply came an hour later from the producer's team. She's agreed to be interviewed, separately, but open to appearing in a final scene. Together. Karoline raised an eyebrow. She wants a part 2. Her aide nodded. And maybe a rewrite. Reed was thrilled. This isn't just a story now, he told his crew. It's a cultural reckoning. Billie's team released a statement to Variety that same day. Billie Eilish respects the documentary as a chance to explore the intersection of art, belief, and backlash. No regrets, but definitely room for clarity. Karoline read it with interest. No regrets, she muttered. That's not an apology. That's a reset. Still, she didn't back out. If Billie wanted to share the spotlight, Karoline would make sure she knew it wasn't a stage anymore. Weeks passed as cameras followed both women. Karoline in press rooms and small-town rallies. Billie backstage at sold-out arenas. 2 faces, 2 voices, 1 screen, and then the final scene. It would be filmed in neutral territory. An empty theater in Nashville. No host, no script. Just 2 chairs. Karoline's team hesitated. It could backfire. She might try to take the high ground, or spin this as growth. Karoline simply said, good. Let's see if she can stand eye to eye when there's no audience to clap for her jokes. The day arrived. Karoline entered first. Hair pulled back. Cross at her collarbone. Eyes sharp, but composed. Billie walked in minutes later. Loose black hoodie, no glam, just raw presence. They sat down. A long pause. Then the cameras rolled. The cameras rolled. No studio audience, no applause signs, just the hum of overhead lights in a cold Nashville theater. Karoline sat upright. Billie leaned back, arms crossed, eyes cautious. The filmmaker's voice came from off-screen. Why are you both here? Karoline didn't hesitate. Because someone mocked what matters most to me, faith, country, roots, and instead of yelling back, I chose to answer. Then she looked at Billie. Why are you here? Billie's foot tapped quietly, then stopped. Because I didn't think it would matter. I thought it was just a line, just another show, she exhaled. But it became something else. And maybe I underestimated what people believe in, what you believe in. Karoline tilted her head. Or who believes in me? Billie smiled faintly. That too. A beat. Then Karoline spoke again, her tone calm, almost soft. I don't hate you, Billie. I don't even blame you. You are what the culture rewards. Sarcasm, cool detachment, rebellion. But maybe Rebellion doesn't have to mean laughing at tradition. Billie didn't respond. She looked down, fingers curled over the chair's edge. For the first time, her silence wasn't defiant. It was reflective. Karoline leaned forward just slightly. "You asked, what's so special about faith and flags? Here's the answer. They're not about being loud. They're about standing for something when everything else tells you to sit down." Billie nodded. No quip, no smirk, just nodding. The filmmaker asked, "Anything to say back?" Billie opened her mouth, paused, then, "No." She said it better than I could. Click. The camera light shut off. No dramatic exit, no hug, no handshake. Just two women, one moment, and a room full of silence that finally meant something. And when the doc aired weeks later, it was that moment, not the shouting, not the sparring, that flooded social media with reactions. Sometimes the quietest scenes speak the loudest truths. Karoline didn't win by force. She won by conviction. And Billie? She didn't lose. She learned. The documentary premiered on a Thursday night. Streaming numbers shattered expectations. Within hours, Echo Chamber, "The Day the Music Mocked the Message," was trending in 5 countries. Clips of Karoline calmly facing Billie went viral. Again. But this time, with different commentary. She didn't just defend herself. She redefined what it means to speak without screaming. The Atlantic. Karoline showed us that silence, when used with intent, is louder than any beat drop. Politico. Billie Eilish learned something many never do: humility in the face of conviction. Rolling Stone. A college student in Texas started a TikTok trend called "Stand with Class," inspired by Karoline's posture during the sit-down. Veterans posted clips of her, quote, "Faith and flag don't ask to be loved, they ask to be carried." Church groups began using her words in Sunday reflections. Even critics who once dismissed her as just another mouthpiece started calling her the unexpected voice of her generation. And Billie? Billie stayed quiet. No Instagram stories, no sarcastic tweets, just one captionless post, a photo of her backstage, watching the documentary on a laptop, face half lit. The comments flooded in. "Respect. Growth looks good on you." Sometimes the loudest thing is learning. Meanwhile, in D.C., Karoline sat at her desk, looking out the window toward the Capitol. Her aide entered holding a folder. "New invites, Harvard, Georgetown, even Berkeley. They want you to speak, not as a Republican, as a voice." Karoline smiled faintly. "They'll regret that," she said, half joking. But she knew better. This wasn't about winning a debate. This was about reminding a nation that calm isn't weakness, conviction isn't arrogance, and silence, when earned, isn't absence. It's power. She took the folder, stood up, and adjusted her blazer. The cross around her neck gleamed as she stepped into the hallway. No music, no cheering crowd, just footsteps. Steady, purposeful, unapologetic. In a world where fame often shouts and conviction is mocked, one moment of calm truth changed everything. Karoline Leavitt didn't just speak back, she made America stop and listen. And that's what we bring you here at Surprising Stories. Not just the drama, but the moments that define it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next story, where the unexpected always speaks the loudest.